मैसेज आता है टेस्ट में सब लाइन्स है चेक कर
जैन में ना
अभी
कभी
24 दिसंबर
मेरा एग्जाम थी 24 दिसंबर 25 क्रिसमस है
मैं तो
ऐसा क्यों करते हैं
ये देख 24 दिसंबर से वेट में तो टाइम टेबल मिलेगा
26 को ये है
24 25 26 27 मुझे क्या पता ऑल सब्जेक्ट्स बारे में और कोई नहीं है ना ऑल सब्जेक्ट्स सब
ऑनलाइन और ऑफलाइन
अरे ब्रो हर टेस्ट में ऐसे ही होता थोड़ी ना ऑप्शन देते हैं बात करके देख फिर जो भी हम देखेंगे
मैंने नहीं दे क्रिसमस में क्यों रखा है जनवरी में भी है
फिर से
देख
मेरे को नॉर्मल टेस्ट
ट्यूसडे थर्सडे को कौन सा टेस्ट होता है
स्कैनर भाई उनका भी क्या क्या 80 क्या
इंग्लिश मैथ्स साइंस हिंदी सोशल फिर आप आ सकते हो पढ़ने
अभी भी आ सकते हैं
हाँ अभी पढ़ जाए
मैं तो आई कैसे केस नहीं आई तो आई थी
और इसमें से आपको आपस में इसमें भी पूछ सकते हैं बोलते हैं दीदी को आपकी लाइफ स्टोरी जाननी है और वापस अपना शुरू हो गया उनका बेटा बेटी भाई
नो वे तो मैंने फिर से वो 16 मिनट का इंट्रो सुना
मतलब मेरे को एक बात ही समझी जब इंसान ने बीकॉम सब करके तो भी जाके फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री में है और बोलते मेरा पैशन है पढ़ना
बहुत सारे बीच में बिजनेस भी किया था
लंदन में हाँ लंदन में दिसंबर में यूपी फिर से शुरू होगा
दिसंबर में एक हफ्ता ही है उसके बाद मौका है
नहीं
रिवीजन क्लासेस ना एक ही होता है ये लेक्चर दिखाना
यार भी पढ़ना
सॉल्विंग कौन सा है
मैम कैन यू डू pastoral
pastoralists what to do
कौन सा चैप्टर
pastoralist
history का classes I brought both whatever is required
because we have my exam
I should do civics कर लेता
no
she's having
my exams में pastoralist का है
हम मेरे एग्जाम में civics का electoral के बाद वाला चैप्टर है
my exam starting on 11
when your exam 18th ना so we are getting 2 weeks
I can do anything because my exams are starting from 4th January
and then last वाला
February
so then no we will get some other days also the classes will be arranged so that is why we will finish so you want history to be done no
very is
last time भी हम तीन थे ना
no Siddhi also Siddhi randomly
Risha want to come Sanjiti भी है Why is it?
Christians not coming.
I'm pretty sure subject.
Other subjects
social
coming.
maybe Christian से 5 class attend किए होंगे.
एक रीजन से नहीं आती
मनस्वी नहीं आती.
नहीं तो बात
ये सीधे
अरे नहीं इसको ये हिस्ट्री सब पसंद है
अदर सब्जेक्ट के लिए आते हैं
आती है
एमबीबीएस एससीपीएस केमिस्ट्री काम करती है
MBBS SCPS but
बना ले सब
बाकी उसने कुछ ऑफ नहीं लाइक किया है क्लासेस आर नॉट गोइंग ऑन
classes are not going on the course is run for other chapter
all the subjects.
so the revision classes will start from next week means this from Monday
Only the social is left out.
सोशल एंड हिंदी
हिंदी
Hindi
मैम को भी लेक्चर्स है
will be it's doubt या कुछ ऐसे
मोय होगा.
Okay.
सिद्धि से सिद्धि है कहाँ नाचना
Last post.
सिद्धि तो लैटिन की इंग्लिश क्लास में भी आ जाती है.
सिद्धि एससीपीएस में इंग्लिश में आती
बस रैंडमली शो अप.
है
हमेशा मॉडर्न में MOR
मॉडर्न
I miss the word. Many students are writing, but not that way. No R, no. No DER.
यस
Today's okay. Who are pastoralists?
no something to do with grazing and pasture.
Yes.
only
It originates from the word pasture. Pasture land. Pasture land is meant for grazing the cattle. So those who live with the grazing of cattle are called pastoralists. Hello, sir. Keep on rice.
मैम साइड
Second also, if it is nearby, no, there will be a temptation. Okay. So what is that? Those who live on that. Now, in India and Africa, that is what the two case studies are taken. There were certain communities who engage in pastoral farming. It is not just grazing the cattle, they engage in the farming activities also. What is that? It is a seasonal movement of people with the cattle. So, have you heard about this word nomads? What is nomad?
People move from one place to another.
Yes. Migrating or that is moving. It is not fully settling in that in one place. So here this group of people also migrate with their cattle according to the seasonal changes. That is with the seasons they move from one place to another. There are certain communities in India who move up the mountain in certain season, that is summer season, and move down the mountain in winter. So this way, seasonally they migrate with their cattle in search of grazing lands. That communities are called pastoral communities. Okay. So the main aim is to get the land for grazing land for the cattle. There are rearers of sheep, then goat, then other cattle. Then in desert part, camels are also reared. So like that, different animals they used to rear. Now there are some
some kind of people, the nomads we have seen, pastoralists we have seen. Now, here in our lesson, certain communities are specifically mentioned. The people who live in Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, that two communities are mentioned. Then there is also mention about the people of Maharashtra, particular Plateau region. Then there is also desert. So three different climatic conditions are mentioned about it. The first group of people who live in Jammu and Kashmir, can you tell who were that communities?
Gujjar, Bakarwas.
Gujjar, Bakarwas. What was the particular activity?
What sort of goat and sheep?
Goat and sheep. What is the difference between goat and sheep?
Sheep are red for the wool, and
Wool.
whereas goats are red for the milk products and
Ah.
the meat.
Milk and meat products. Okay, see the difference. Then there is also, these animals are also reared for the skin.
Yeah.
You know that the skin can be used for making drum and other
Yeah.
musical instruments.
Good
and all.
sheepskin is
Ah.
also used in cashmere fabric.
So you got it now. These all are the different activities. So the main occupation is rearing of sheep and goat. What they used to do? See, we know that previous lesson we have studied about the British time. They, the people who were living in the forest land or nearby that land were removed through the forest laws. We have studied so many ways the British colonial rules have been introduced and the people were forced to leave that place. Now they began to settle in certain areas. So that area, it is that lower valleys of that Himalayas. This particular place, we know that there is the winter season. What happens? Snow-covered land. During that time, people cannot graze the cattle on that region. So what they used to do, they used to climb down the hills, and there they used to graze their cattle. And when summer come, they used to climb up the mountain. So this way there is seasonal movement of people with their cattle. And while moving, what is there? They used to have a particular area where they take rest. It means to stay with their cattle. That is known as Lahul Spiti. That particular place they used to stay because there is 6 months of summer, 6 months of winter. So that time, what they used to do when they are climbing up the mountain, here this area they used to sow the seed. Then only they climb up the mountain. And when the winter start, they climb down the mountain. By the time what happened?
They have
Here,
good lands.
it is ready for harvest. So what they can do? They can harvest that crops. This harvested waste can be given as the feed to the cattle, and they can start that collecting that products. We know that the winter is very difficult for this sheep. So that is why that harvesting or shaping that or cutting that wool, that is also happening there. So all these activities they used to do in the temporary transit time. Understood? So this way they used to climb up the mountain, down the mountain, and also practice agriculture. So that is why it is called a pastoral farming. They are pastoralists as well as they are farmers also. Okay. And all the type of crops they cannot grow. What is that? They can grow certain crops only which can withstand that climate. That type of crops, because there are certain crops they have to take care of. So the crops which it can stay without attention, that type of crops they sow and climb upward. Okay. Then another group of people are called Gandhi shepherds. So where they used to stay? Himachal Pradesh. They are also part of that seasonal movement. That is low hills or Shivalik range. They graze their flocks in scrub forest. What is scrub forest? It is not means big forest. It is smaller in size. It is not a grassland also. It is scrubs and shrubs, we can say. That is small, bushy type of vegetation is there. There they graze the sheep. That is why they were called as Gandhi shepherds. What they used to do, by April they moved north and spent the summer in Lahore and Spiti. Already we have mentioned about this one. Reaping their summer harvest and sowing their winter crop. Then they descended with their flock to the winter grazing ground in the Shivalik hills. Next April, once again, they began their march with their goats and sheep to the summer meadows. Meadow, what is meadow? Meadow is grassland. Okay. Further to the east, now we have seen Jammu and Kashmir one group, then Himachal Pradesh. When we move to that eastward, the another group of people, that is at Garhwal and Kumaon, Gujjar cattle herders. That is also another Gujjar group, but they are rearing bigger animals, not the sheep, bigger animals. They came down to the dry forest of the Bhagar. Have you studied about Bhagar?
Yes.
In geography you have studied. What is Bhagar?
Yeah, it is those below the Himalaya there are pebbled lands in which small rivers flow.
So that is what when the river descended from the mountain, it used to disappear in the middle and only the pebbles used to. So scattered part water is there. So afterwards only the dry part.
Yeah.
So that Bhagar is having that pebble land.
Then it's harder than Kerala.
Okay, so in that Bhagar part, this Gujjar cattle herders, they graze the cattle and they went up to the high meadows. What is that? Bugyals in summer. Okay, these are different communities. How many communities we have studied? Here, third community, Kumaon. What was that community?
Gujjar cattle herders.
Then
Bhabar.
Is
Bhagar and Bhagar is a land.
I was just thinking.
Then Mugyals, no? So they are what they used to do in the summer. So that part, group, they used to migrate with their cattle. Many of them were originally from Jammu and came to the UP hills in the 19th century in search of good pastures. This pattern of cyclical movement between summer and winter pastures was typical of many pastoral communities of the Himalayas, including another communities names are Bhotias, Sherpas, and Kinnuris. So there is a place known as Tinnur. So that particular place people are known as Kinnuris. Sherpas are that mountaineers.
I've read about them in Hindi.
Mountaineers. Then Bhotias. So that the community names you have to just note down. Then all of them had to adjust to seasonal changes and make effective use of available pastures in different places. When the pasture was exhausted or unusable in one place, they moved their herds and flocked to new areas. This continuous movement also allowed pastures to recover. It prevented the overuse. Why they used to migrate? One is that continuously if that grasses are eaten out, so nothing will be left out. So overuse of that pasture can hamper that growth of grasses. So what they used to do, they used to migrate to another place. By the time that pasture finished, grasses finished, they can come back. By the time this can grow. So in order to avoid overuse, and secondly, that thick growth for a particular season, they want that grasslands for some time. It is not for a few days only. It is required for a period, a season. Understood? Got it? So, mountainous region, who were the groups of people, what was their life? Understood? Now let's come to the plateaus, plains and desert. Plateau part when we are taking, which is the most important plateau, Deccan Plateau. Where is Deccan Plateau?
Like around the central region of India,
So-
Maharashtra, MP, and all of the land masses between them.
Yes. See, when we are taking, so
My grandmother's calling. I have to pick it up.
okay, go first. So this land, understood?
Hello. Hello.
Okay, the land between that western coastal plain and eastern coastal plain, this land. So in the north we can say that Vindhya and Satpura ranges. Here Chotanagpur Plateau. But we see this thing, understanding or reality.
Yeah, the Chotanagpur is in like Bengal and east side.
Yes, this part only Chotanagpur.
Chota.
So what is that? Vindhya, Satpura, Chotanagpur Plateau and other Bundelkhand, Kathmandu in the north. And this one is eastern coastal plain, this one is western coastal plain. This part is called a country. Got it? Okay. So in the Deccan Plateau region, especially in Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh and those part, a group of people are there who rear sheep and goats. Even they used to keep buffaloes. So which were the animals they used to keep? Buffaloes, sheep and goats. So what is the name of that group of people? Dhangas. What they used to do, they were an important pastoral community in Maharashtra. In the early 20th century, the population in this region was estimated to be 4,67,000. Now, they stayed in the central plateau of Maharashtra during the monsoon. So, what is the peculiarity of this? They stay in that plateau during the monsoon. Hmm? Why they stay in the monsoon time?
For harvest? For harvest?
No, not exactly like that. What is that? I already told you, rainy season is not good for the sheep and goats. Ah, so that is why these people used to stay in that plateau region, central plateau of Maharashtra during the monsoon. Then what happened? This was a semi-arid region with low rainfall and poor soil. It was covered with a thorny scrub. Okay. Nothing but dry crops like bajra could be sown here. In the monsoon, this tract became a vast grazing ground for the thunder flocks. So nothing is there, only that a dry, that after harvest, whatever dry crops are left, and another thorny type of bushes are there. So these thangas used to come and live there during the time of monsoon. By October, thangas harvested their bajra and started on their move west. After the march of about a month, they reached the Konkan. So I have drawn that one. Just okay. So you just imagine this is what the plateau region. They used to settle during that monsoon season in this part, and by October they start moving towards the west. You know that this part is this western coastal plain. This especially this western coastal plain in this part is known as Konkan. So this people move towards after 1 month journey, they reach to that Konkan coast. This Konkan coast is always having greenery. They are doing agriculture. So this group of Thangas make friendship with this farmer groups and farmer groups help them. So that is why they could come and stay in the Konkan coast. What is there? By October, the Thangas harvested their bajra and started their move west. After a march for about 1 month, they reached the Konkan. Then, this was a flourishing agricultural tract with a high rainfall and rich soil. Here, the shepherds were welcomed by Konkani peasants. After the Kharif harvest was cut at this time, what is the Kharif season?
Rainy season crops.
Monsoon crop. Kharif is harvested by September.
Yeah.
So then,
October, right? It is
Ah.
sown in June and July and harvested in October.
it depends upon. If early sowing is there, it can be harvested by September. For example, in Kerala coast, that is September month, that Onam season, that is the harvest festival. So after harvest only that festival used to take place because they get early monsoon. You have studied about mango showers and all. So that is what early monsoon they get. But when it comes to this Konkan and all, it reaches late. Monsoon reaches late. So accordingly, here cropping season also late. Understood? So there is no fixed month. It varies. September to October it can. By the time only October, November, that the rabi crop will start. Understood? So what they do? Kharif harvest was cut at this time. The fields had to be fertilized and made ready for the rabi harvest. So what happened? Here, this cattle gave manure to the field. That is why there is an understanding between the farmers of Konkan and these Thangas. Dhangas did not come with a small number of cattle. We are having large flock. Understood? So they gave manure to the field. So that is why there is a great understanding between these people, the farmers of Konkan as well as Dhangas. Got it? Then what happened? Dhangar flock manured the fields and fed on the stubble. What is stubble?
Remaining after the
After harvest, plants which are remaining, that is called a stubble. So in many places, in South India and all, after the harvesting of paddy, the plant will be dried up and then piled up for the next season. That is for cattle. The cattle is fed with that. So here that stubble is eaten up by the cattle. Then the Konkani peasants also gave the supplies of rice which the shepherds took back to the plateau where grain was kept. So they gave that manure to that field. Even they helped that farmers to the agricultural activity. While returning back, these Konkani farmers gave them rice after that first harvest, after Kharif harvest. So they take it back with the plateau when they are staying in that next or till the next coming. Then what happened? The sheep could not tolerate the wet monsoon conditions. That is why I have told you that they stay in the plateau during that season because the sheep cannot bear that wet condition. Only buffaloes can bear. We know that the buffaloes always in one. So that is why wet season is liked by the buffaloes. But the other cattle, goats and the sheep were brought back. Then what they used to do, in Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, again the dry center plateau was covered with stone and grass inhabited by cattle, goat and sheep herders. The Golas herded cattle. Here that names you have to remember. The Golas, they herd cattle.
Why is the name so weird?
So that is what the community name only, no?
Yeah.
They reared cattle. Then what was the other community? Kurumas and Kurubas. They reared.
I will not be able to retain this until tomorrow. This information is too complicated.
That is why CBSE have made a choice that this lesson is not for study. It is for internal exams.
it's coming.
How
I guess.
sad, Aditi. How
In school, I guess this chapter.
You are also not there.
I have 80 marks for exam. 75% question.
When will join in the next?
Okay. That's all.
Yeah.
Kurumas and Kurubas reared sheep and goats and sold woven blankets. Then afterwards, these communities, those who rear sheep and goats, they make woolen clothes. That the sheep, after harvesting of the sheep, they make woolen clothes and sell it. So that way their life they maintain. Then they lived near the woods, cultivated small patches of land, engaged in a variety of petty trades, and took care of the herds. So here they are not that migrant tribe. Three groups we have mentioned: Golas, Kurubas, and Kurmas. These three groups are not migrant tribes. They live near the forest. They cultivate the land. At the same time, they rear the cattle and make that products, sell it, or many other products also they sell, and they have a living. Then, unlike mountain pastoralists, it was not the cold and the snow that defined the seasonal rhythm of their movement. Rather, it was the alternation of the monsoon and dry season. So, we have seen in the mountainous region, they climb up the mountain and down the mountain with the season. Means the two main seasons. But here, what is that? Alternate wet and dry spells. That is what to make them to move. Only buffaloes like the swampy, wet conditions of the coastal areas during the monsoon months. Other herds had to be shifted to the dry plateau at this time. Another group who migrate or who move from place to place are banjaras.
Yeah, but they are most well known on
Yes. See, it is not, some of them are moving with their cattle, some of them are trading community. We know that in Mumbai also this Banjaras used to come to sell their products during that festival time. Dandiya time,
Yeah.
they used to stay for 10 to 15 days with that only. So like that, different places they move with the products. They live there and sell their product, make and sell their products. This type of communities are called the Banjaras. They don't have, many of them were not having any settled life. They lived in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra.
I know they are just everywhere.
In search of good pasture land for their cattle, they move over long distances selling plough, cattle and other goods to villagers in exchange for grain and fodder. Understood? In deserts of Rajasthan live the Raikas, another community. It's called the Raikas. What is their life? What they do?
Desert. They live in the desert. They
Does
cultivate land and
harvest fluctuate every year because we know that in desert region rainfall varies, the amount of rainfall varies. So some years they get a good harvest, some years they did not get. So because of that, they have to adapt with the changes. So what they used to do is that whatever lands they could grow, they grow the crops. Others used to do pastoralism. They move with it. Mainly the what is that? They rear camels. We know that the camels can survive in that hot climate. During the monsoon, the Raikas of Barmer, Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, and Bikaner stayed in their home villages where pasture was available. By October, when these grazing grounds were dry and exhausted, they moved out in search of other pasture and water and returned again during the next monsoon. So, monsoon season they stay because pasture land is available. After that, they move. Then, one group of Raikas known as Maru. Maru means desert. Marustal. Marustal means desert.
I love these games.
Herded camels and another group reared sheep and goat. So we see that the life of these pasture groups was sustained by careful consideration of host of factors. Now we have to see what are the factors which drive the life of these pastoralists. Many factors are there. One of the factor is that they calculate the time, climate, Understood. They know very well about when this thing will happen. Approximately, they make the calculation. Then only they make the movement. Then they make a calculation about how long they can stay with the cattle. See, if they are going with the cattle, they should have the food for them also. Cattle will get the feed, but they also need food. So all these things, how long they have to stay in the new place, that calculation is there. Only one group who get the help. Thangas get the help of the people who are there. So what mainly these people they make company with the people of that locality. They made friendship with that locality people and they make an understanding. So what they can give and what in exchange they will get, because they need some place to stay. The others have to allow them. It's not the permanent residence, no. So the people of that locality have to allow. See, we cannot encroach in somebody's territory. So that is why all the groups maintain this kind of good relation with the people of that locality. Clear? Now, they needed to calculate the timing of their movement and ensure that they could move through different territories. They had to set up a relationship with the farmers on the way so that the herds could graze in and harvested fields and manure the soil. They combined a range of different activities: cultivation, trade, and herding. These are the three activities they engaged in. Yes? Clear?
Yeah.
Now let's move to that how the colonial government introduced restrictions on them.
Why does the colonial government have a say in everything?
Because
They were the ruling part, that means the rulers. Rulers have the authority.
If I'm eating something, no, you shall not eat. If I'm moving somewhere, no, you shall not move. If I'm cutting trees, no, you shall not cut trees. What's the point?
That is why they are called the rulers. And the people of that area are called the subjects. Understood? Okay. The colonialist, that is in the case of that forest lesson also we have studied about, they introduced so many rules. Here also, every why they introduce rules, I'm just telling in brief, so that afterwards you can read it and we will see. What is that? We know that in earlier case, why the forest rules were introduced. One is that they wanted to tax the people.
wanted to take it for their own.
They cannot calculate. You just imagine when they are coming to fix the tax to the pastoralists in one area. By the time, according to the seasonal migration, they will move to some other place. And when they reach that place to measure, calculate the number of cattle they are having and they tax them, by the time they climb down. So that made the colonial government difficult.
So they just want tax money.
Tax money, they want this thing, pasture land should not be there. Why it is not there? We know that the people, cattle used to stand the grass and the soil become hard. So that land is very difficult to be used for cultivation purpose. So that is
But
why.
isn't this all a part of a good, generational ecosystem?
But who will care about that? They are the rulers who came from some other land and they are going back. So why they have to bother about the people who are staying in India? So I don't care. That is the attitude of those people. So they made the restrictions on that their movements, the number of cattle they can keep, so type of activities they engage, all the areas they made a lot of restrictions. See, you
First part you will read. Colonial rule and the life of pastoralists.
Is it under colonial?
Colonial rule and the life of pastoralists. Okay. Second part you.
Under colonial rule, the life of pastoralists changed dramatically. The grazing grounds shrank, their movements were regulated, and the revenue they had to pay increased. Their agricultural stock declined, and their trades and crafts were adversely affected. First, the colonial state wanted to transform all grazing land into cultivated farms. Land revenue was one of the main sources of its finance.
These are things I have told you. This one.
By expanding cultivation, it could increase its revenue collection. It could at the same time produce more jute, cotton, wheat, and other agricultural produce that were required in India. To colonial officials, all uncultivated land appeared to be unproductive. It produced neither revenue nor agricultural produce. It was seen as wasteland that needed to be brought under cultivation. From the mid-19th century, wasteland rules were enacted in various parts of the country. By these rules, uncultivated lands were taken over and given to select individuals. These individuals were granted various concessions and encouraged to settle these lands. Some of them were made headmen of villages in the newly cleared areas. In most areas, the land taken over were actually grazing tracts used regularly by pastoralists. So expansion of cultivation inevitably meant the decline of pastures and a problem for pastoralists.
Okay. Now, any point we need to discuss?
No.
Understood? Yeah. Now, second point you read. By these rules, uncultivated land. Okay. Second, by the mid-19th century, various forest acts were also being enacted in the different provinces. Through these acts, some forests which produced commercially valuable timber like Jodar or Sal were declared reserved. No pastoralists were allowed access to these forests. Other forests were classified as protected. In these, some customary grazing rights of pastoralists were granted, but their movements were severely restricted. The colonial officials believed that grazing destroyed the saplings and young shoots of trees that germinated on the forest floor. The herds trampled over these saplings and munched away the shoots. This prevented new trees from growing. These forest acts changed lives of pastoralists. Why am I saying it so weird? Pastoralists. These were now prevented from entering many forests that had earlier provided valuable forage for their cattle. Even in the areas they were allowed entry, their movements were regulated. They needed a permit for entry. The timing of their entry and departure was specified, and the number of days they could spend in the forest was limited. Pastoralists could no longer remain in an area even if forage was available. The grass was succulent, and the undergrowth thin,
In the forest.
in the forest was ample.
Undergrowth.
Undergrowth in the forest was ample. Oh my god. This is one word.
Undergrowth. That is what you have.
Undergrowth thin, yes. They had to move because the forest department permits that had been issued to them now ruled their lives. The permit specified the periods in which they could be legally within a forest. If they overstayed, they were liable to fines.
Okay, this we have to connect with the Forest Act. We have studied in the previous lesson. The same thing is applied to the pastoralists also. Forests were divided into reserved forest, protected forest, and unclassed forest.
All the wasteful
So,
shenanigans of
so that way, some permission was given to the people to stay in that forest only to some communities. So, In return, they have to do free service for cutting the wood, looking after that forest. All those service those people have to do. In return, allowed them to live.
And food.
Huh? Food, they can grow something, they can take that forest products. Only few. Others were not allowed. If they were living there with their cattle and cattle entering into the forest, they have to pay huge fine. Because we know that when they are planting that scientific forestry, that new plants are also planted. The shoots will be eaten up by the cattle. So that will be a punishable crime. So that is why people were not allowed to graze their cattle in the forest. There are certain part which is meant for that purpose. Forest region, it was not allowed. So that is why we have to combine both the things. Clear? Third.
Third, British officials were suspicious of nomadic people. They distrusted mobile craftsmen and traders who hawked their goods in villages, and pastoralists who changed their places of residence every season, moving in search of good pastures for their herds. The colonial government wanted to rule over a settled population. They wanted the rural people to live in villages in fixed places with fixed rights on particular fields. Such a population was easy to identify and control. Those who were settled were seen as peaceable and law peaceable and law abiding.
Peace. They live with peace, no? And law abiding people. They obey the laws.
Those who were nomadic were considered to be a criminal.
Remember that criminal tribe. Previous lesson we have studied about the criminal tribe.
In 1871, the colonial government in India passed the Criminal Tribes Act. By this act, many communities of craftsmen, traders, and pastoralists were classified as criminal tribes. They were stated to be criminal by nature and birth.
That's so foolish. Just the concept of it is so. Why did people let the British just stay here? Those white weak people who would die under the sun, like marinate them for 20 hours and they're dead.
Once this act came into force, these communities were expected to live only in notified village settlements. They were not allowed to move out without a permit.
I want to sun dry these Britishers.
They can't bear, no?
They can be
Just marinate them. Come on, do something.
people.
Why did we not think of just putting them together under the sun? They would simply die.
Bro, mud में ज़्यादा अच्छा.
Mud mein.
They would die of UTIs and infections.
Anyways, the village police kept a continuous watch on them.
Okay, no fourth. This part you understood, no?
Yes.
That is nomadic tribe. If they are moving from place to place, it
They are
was very
criminals.
difficult. It was very difficult for the British to administer them and fix the revenue. Understood? Fourth.
To expand its revenue income, the colonial government looked for every possible source of taxation. So tax was imposed on land, on canal water, on salt, on trade goods, and even on animals. Pastoralists had to pay tax on every animal they grazed on the pasture. In most pastoral tracts of India, grazing tax was introduced in the mid-19th century. The tax per head of cattle went up rapidly and the system of collection was made increasingly efficient. In the decades between the 1850s and 1880s, the right to collect the tax was auctioned out to contractors. These contractors tried to extract as high a tax as they could to recover the money they had paid to the state and earn as much profit as they could within the year. By the 1880s, the government began collecting taxes directly from the pastoralists. Each of them was given a pass. To enter a grazing tract, a cattle hauler had to show the pass and pay the tax. The number of cattle heads he had and the amount of tax he paid was entered on the pass.
You know that when you are taken to some that water kingdom or like that, so before entry, something will be stuck on your hands. Band is there. According to the size, according to the height, according to the age, the children are branded because. So why?
The band is like the package which we have taken. It's like
Not. No. Some places.
That's a
Some-
mobile thing.
The
Go to
children,
I broke almost.
children under this age cannot go to that higher one, no? So that is why that is also separated. Because by seeing that they can or cannot allow. Because the schools when we are booking, this age group, this many students are there, this age group, this many are there. So older people are this one. So accordingly it is given. So the small child who try to go to the higher rights can be banned from. So here also, according to number of cattle, they have to pay the tax. That is, if a person wanted to herd in that forest region, they have to take a pass. And while entering into that place, they will count the number of cattle. So accordingly, they will be taxed. So this way, severe restrictions on this pastoralists were made during the British time. Clear? 4 ways you understood? Now, how did these changes affect the lives of pastoralists?
Should I read?
Hmm.
These measures led to a serious shortage of pastures when grazing lands were taken over and turned into cultivated fields. The available area of pasture land declined.
So one of the changes that the available area of pasture land declined. Underline all these points, okay?
Similarly, the reservation of forests meant that shepherds and cattle herders could no longer freely pasture their cattle in the forest.
They could
As,
not.
as pasture lands disappeared under the law, the existing animal stock had to feed off whatever grazing land remained. This led to a continuous, intensive grazing of these pastures.
So what happened? Earlier they used to move from one place to another. Now they have to use that available land continuously. That is what the intensive use of that. So because of that, the grass will not grow.
Usually, nomadic pastoralists graze their animals in one area and move to another area. These pastoral movements allowed time for the natural restoration of vegetation growth. When restrictions were imposed on pastoral movements, grazing lands came to be continuously used and the quality of pastures declined. This in turn created a further shortage of forage for animals and the deterioration of animal stock. Underfed cattle died in large numbers during scarcities and famines.
Okay, this one is also important. So because of that, what happened? Shortage of forage. Forage means food for cattle. So because then deterioration of animal stock. So when they are not getting food, we can find that the animals die. We many years back, once the cattle used to feed on that plastics because that was only available. After that, this cattle used to die.
Yeah, of asphyxiation and whatever plastic was remaining in their stomach, it would cause a lot of problems for the cattle.
It is not getting digested. We know that the cattle after eating, when they take rest only, it will be taken back and then it is chewing and then only the digestion process is there. Can they bring back plastic? So many cattle die. So
Yeah, in the process only they asphyxiate themselves near
Yes.
the like esophagus and stuff.
So because of that, we know that it is plastic is affecting the environment also, and it is killing that cattle also. Because of that only the emerged that banning that plastics. Sometimes that is when that cattle was what is that postmortem done, tons and tons of plastic. So this made a rethinking for that government. They should not be allowed to move freely and eat the things. So this will happen when the food is not available. They will eat what they get also. That is some zoo and all where plants are available. Even that deer and all, they are eating, ready to eat biscuits also. Children used to go and offer, and whatever they get, they used to eat. But that also cause damage. So many deers like that also used to die. That is why it is clearly written that nobody should offer anything to the animals. Because biscuit means artificial thing only. It is made of maida and all. So that is not good for that animal health. So we create harm to our own environment. That is that balance of food chain is not working. That the food chain is having a balance. No? Plants are eaten by herbivores are eaten by carnivores. So this chain have to work out. So that food chain is not existing because of this kind of continuous usage of this things. Yes, right? Here, large number of cattle flock perished. And then, as a result of this continuous usage of the particular area, families also began to occur. Hmm.
It's already 5:15, so can we do the next?
So what I am thinking, it is not so much, it's the next one.
We can complete this.
This part we will complete, then I will move
How
on.
did the pastoralists cope with these changes? Pastoralists reacted to these changes in a variety of ways. Some reduced the number of cattle in their herd since there was not enough pasture to feed large numbers. Others discovered new pastures when movement to old grazing grounds became difficult. After 1947, the camel and sheep herding regas, for instance, could no longer move into Sindh and graze their camels on the banks of the Indus as they had done earlier. The new political boundaries between India and Pakistan stopped their movement, so they had to find new places to go. And in recent years, they have been migrating to Haryana, where sheep can graze on agriculture fields after the harvest are cut. This is the time that fields need manure that the animals provide. Over the years, some richer pastoralists began buying land and settling down, giving up their nomadic life. Some became settled peasants cultivating land, others took to more extensive trading. Many poor pastoralists, on the other hand, borrowed money from moneylenders to survive. At times, they lost their cattle and sheep and become laborers, working on fields in a small towns. Yet pastoralists not only continue to survive, in many regions their numbers have expanded over recent decades. When pastoral land in one place was close to them, they changed the direction of their movement, reduced the size of the herd, combined pastoral activity with other forms of income, and adapted to the changes in the modern world. Many ecologists believe that in dry regions and in the mountains, pastoralism is still ecologically the most viable form of life. Such changes were not experienced only by pastoral communities in India. In many other parts of the world, new laws and settlement patterns forced pastoral communities to alter their lives.
So here in brief, what we see, they adapted to that changes. Some settled, some purchased land and started settling their life, living that pastoral life away, and some started agriculture. So like that, they began to adapt different type of conditions according to the need. Some are now also migrating